Welcome, beautiful yogis. I'm so glad you're here. Some I haven't seen for a long time. Welcome, welcome. Let's relax together. In these dog days of summer, it's a good thing to put everything down, have a little lie down, and fully relax. So we begin as we do in the open book pose. So set up your 2 blocks in a little step so that you can have your bolster right over it and lie back, sitting on your mat. Your 2 blankies are there for your legs, your knees, as we lie back and let the spine find center along your bolster, and let your feet meet, if they can, in the cobbler's pose. And if that's not comfy, just let your legs slide out. You have permission to adjust each pose in a way that works for you. Our intention is to relax, to stretch a little in this very receptive way. And so here in this shape, the possibility of letting your shoulders drop a little further down towards the mat. Your elbows, forearms might find purchase on the blankies there that also support your thighs. So arrange in a way that's comfy and settling for you as you now close your eyes. So different when we close the eyes. Far less stimuli, far more focus on what is here internally for each of us. It's going to be different for each of us. We have different constitutions and nervous systems, and some of us are more excited than others, and others are more mellow naturally. But there is something completely similar for all of us, is that we need to chill out and we need to relax. So we do that together now. Let's begin with a deep nose breath in. Big full inhalation. At the very top we pause, we purse the lips and blow the breath away. Again, it's the nose that breathes in. Big, generous inhalation and a little holding moment. And then blowing that breath away. And again. And so we now use the breath that's always happening. We use it intentionally to shift attention from outer into inner, from doing into being. So as you now rest here and breathe, you might switch to nose in and nose out. Celebrating clear nostrils. They aren't always clear, as we found out this week, but currently in a good place. Easy flow of breath deep into your lungs. Easy flow of breath out of the body, accompanied by the relaxation response that's innate. It's already happening, nothing to do. So resting and breathing, let your inhalation be in the 3 areas of the inhalation. In other words, begin your breath deep in your belly and feel how as it rises, it moves into widening your ribs. And as it continues to rise, it stretches those upper ribs all the way up to the collarbones, those top ribs. And the reverse direction for exhalation, the releasing of the breath at the top of the ribs, the middle of the ribs, and the relaxing tummy where there are no more rib bones. Your diaphragm relaxes back. And here it comes again, the diaphragm moving down to expand your tummy. To draw the breath in, have a sense of it being drawn in so it becomes not an act of doing, but an act of receiving. Trace the path of the exhale. The moment of deeper ease and relaxation. Stay with this, every now and then noticing the sensations in your body. Noticing the shifts and changes. Where we are so connected now with the movement of air through the body, having settled the bones of our body, the spine and the limbs and the skull, in this draping manner, the bones of our body, we could call it the earth element in the body, the most solid, the air flowing through, and the warmth in the body. Of course, it's fueled by the beautiful sunshine of summer for most of us. It's also fueled internally. Body's temperature regulated, part of its deep wisdom and knowing what's needed. And can you notice, tune into your blood circulating, the fluids of the body, quite palpable when we tune into them. And it's a nice place to put attention. The fluid body. As we grow older, we grow drier. So babies come in very watery. They're about 90% water. But as we get older, we lose that percentage and we're more brittle and air and earth. As we return to dust eventually, but we won't go there now. Savor the inhale. Savor the exhale. All that makes up the world, the universe, is here in this body. This extraordinary body filled with wisdom and knowing, well beyond our conscious understanding. And a really good way to handle that is to simply marvel at this breathing body that can get sick and then can heal itself too. That we're all in the process of healing this body, mind, from so many struggles. And this is a good place to do it, all of us together, breathing in, breathing out, with that same beautiful intention to rest and to restore. We'll be in this place for 3 to 4 more cycles of your conscious breath. And for the last few breaths, shift your attention away from the 3 areas of breath to the 1 area of breath that is so prominent, and that's at the heart. As though breathing in and out through the heart. This heart of ours, which began in utero, our journey into incarnation, and the heart was there before our brain. It is truly a vital organ. Enjoying this heart breath, bring in a sense of gratitude, well-being, awe. A positive emotion, a positive state that you have access to in this moment easily and genuinely. Know that we can choose. Pick a positive state and breathe it in and out of your heart. In doing this, we are strengthening on so many levels, not the least of which is our immune system. Everything is connected. The elements, our thoughts, our emotions, and the space around us. That as our consciousness expands, the vastness of that space around us is also expanding. And so breathing now these expansive breaths in and around your heart, calling for the healing that you need. And calling for the healing that we all need. The call for trust. Trust in this great, big unfolding that we don't quite know where it's going next, but we trust it's going in the right direction, and we are part of being the right direction by being in a good place. Beautiful, everyone. And so from here, we're going to change positions. So bring your knees up together. And roll off to the side. We'll set up for the revolved child's pose now. And so we can do that by leaving your bolster. Bring your blankie to sit on as we now plop down on the left bottom, left butt cheek. And we're sidled up close to the short end of the bolster. I've got my legs in mermaid position. That top knee is snagging the bottom blanket, and I could stretch that leg out a little bit. And then the possibility of rotating the chest towards the bolster, rising up, and then coming forward in one long, lovely, lengthening, lying down to settle. Oh yeah. So position, place your body consciously. Much of the restorative yoga is the practice of placing with intention and consciously. Decide which way you want your head to face, which feels better. And see how much you can allow your trunk to fall forward in this position so that your body weight is given to the bolster, part of the earth element, that which supports and holds us, has substance. And because we have revolved the spine, there is an asymmetrical stretch happening, a little squeeze on one side and a stretch on the other. And we breathe deeply into the low belly, and we breathe deeply into the low back as well. And so you can actually kind of push the air in, because we meet the compression and we push through with the inhale, and how we soften everything and release it, and there's a distribution, a lovely distributing of energy on the exhalation that has the form of ease and letting go. And we stay with that. You know how I love to bring in what's happening in the skies to some of our relaxation sessions, simply to expand our awareness. And so the great, big, most bright star in the night sky, you might know, is Sirius. Sirius is the brightest star in our night sky. But currently, Sirius is not visible because the other brightest star, our sun itself, is so bright we cannot see Sirius where they are at the moment, because they're occupying a very similar part of the sky. And what that means is our sun and Sirius are connecting. They're lined up. The ancients believed that Sirius had so much information and wisdom and assistance for our planet that they would worship Sirius as a god, the way the yogis would have worshipped the sun as a divinity itself. So too, Sirius. Many, many cultures noticed this very bright star, and it is known as the dog star, and this is how we get the phrase, the dog days of summer. And so many legends and stories around the star Sirius, some which may surprise you, and some perhaps you already know. Just allow this to wash over you. You'll remember what might be of interest, or you'll be with your breath. Sirius was also seen not only as a dog, but as a wolf. And the ancient Chinese saw this star as a heavenly wolf. In Sumeria, Babylonia, and Chaldea, Sirius was known as the dog star that leads, or it was called Star of the Dog. In Assyria, this star was called the Dog of the Sun. In ancient Arcadia, it was the dog star of the sun. So many cultures has Sirius been seen as the dog star. The term dog days is the name of the sultriest period of summer from about July 3rd to August 11th. Named in early times by observers in countries bordering on the Mediterranean, the period was reckoned as extending from 20 days before to 20 days after the conjunction of Sirius and the Sun. The time of conjunction varies with differences in latitude, and because of the precession of the equinoxes, it changed gradually over long periods in all latitudes. Ancient stargazers thought the heat from Sirius, the brightest star in the heaven, combined with the heat of the sun, created the hottest days of the year. Well, technically, Sirius is hotter than our sun. However, it's unlikely that this faraway star is adding to the heat in our planet. But it is worth noting the synchronicity of the sun with Sirius, giving rise to these stories in our current star season that lasts a few thousand years. Sirius as the giver of life. Sirius was seen as the giver of life to the ancient Egyptians. It always reappeared at the time of the annual flooding of the Nile. When the star sank in the west and disappeared from the night sky, it was hidden by the light of the sun for 70 days before appearing in the east as it rose, rising just before the sun. And this time was viewed as a time of death and rebirth. Beautiful yogis, invite you now to use your hands and come on up, changing sides, so you can come onto your knees and drop down onto your right bottom and rearrange your torso so that you are squared on. Come forward and again turn your head to one side and settle your head and your trunk and your arms and your legs, falling forward, being caught and suspended and held by this bolster, by the blankets that you've rearranged for yourself, your legs. And how now the compression and the stretch has switched sides. And you can explore your deep tummy, lower back inhalations and soft, long exhalations. lovely slow breaths, your settled body. Continue to enjoy your breathing body, your resting and healing body. As you settle and return again and again to the feeling of your breath and that relaxation with each and every exhalation. Perhaps at the end of the exhalation, you might rest without breath. Can we consider Sirius as our spiritual sun? The dog star Sirius, also known as our spiritual sun, esoterically the heart of our physical sun. During the dog days, when Sirius disappears into the sun's glowing light, some say our physical sun is embracing our spiritual sun. And after such a celestial union, a rebirth or resurrection occurs 70 days later. This is the period of time Sirius disappears from the sky, sequenced in the myth when Isis is in hiding until the birth of her son Horus. Eventually the star reappears after Horus is born. Resurrection, it is time. Sirius was astronomically the foundation of Egypt's entire belief system. It was the embodiment of Isis, sister and consort of the god Osiris, who appear in the sky as Orion. Now here's something particularly of interest to us living in the United States. In 1776, on the 4th of July, the sun was aligned with Sirius. The signing of the US Declaration of Independence was purposefully planned at this time, accessing the magical energies of this star of a bold and revolutionary act. The act as independence was being declared for a new nation. It was no accident that date was chosen. The Sun with Sirius alchemically activates this stargate, opening the doorway to many multidimensional realms, including our starry origins. So, dear star beings, resting yogis, use your hands to slowly come on up. Come up out of that shape. And let's take a moment on all fours. Get comfy on all fours. So just move your spine now, arching and rounding it. So the inhale position is a lift in the chest. The exhale position, there's a tuck in the tail and a rounding of the upper back as the chin lowers. Let's do that a few breath cycles. Moving into the arch for the breath in and the rounding for your breath out. Just very gentle moving prana. Of course, if we don't move the body, our circulation decreases, and so it's vital that we keep moving. And this little conscious moving, very gentle, is helping everything. Our next pose is child's pose, which you might take exactly where you are, right as you are, over the bolster, sitting between your feet and using a blankie if you wish to lie forward and rest this way. Or you can have that option of taking the lovely crocodile pose. So that's a lovely pose for those of you who have knee issues. Just bring your bolster under your tummy and push everything else out of the way so that you can lie forward. Right here, bolster under your belly and relaxed in this extended crocodile shape, at ease, resting, letting go. Be comfortable. If there's a little something cluttering or not quite comfy, I urge you to just fix it, make it nice. Make it nice to rest. And in this shape, we can follow the flow of our breath. We can feel it's coming and going. And we know the breath carries prana, and we're moving prana around, and prana is what heals us. Without prana, our body is nothing. And so all the ways that we practice yoga vitalize, revitalize, restore. Conscious breathing creates and amplifies the prana flow. So it doesn't take much, but it takes attention and intention. enjoying 3 to 4 more breaths in this shape. So as you are ready, make your way up. And if you've been in child's pose, just give your legs a stretch, one leg at a time. Opening up the back of the knees. And then we'll set up our props for supported forward bend. And so we'll build a little table set up with 2 blocks, the bolster, and a seat. So if your body's a little tight, you can always do this at your dining room table, sitting at the table, or your desk, or right here on your yoga mat, making enough of a support where you can sit on a little raised seat below that helps tilt your pelvis. And when the pelvis is tilted, it's easier to come forward. And so if your pelvis is tucked under, it's very hard to come forward. And so lift up your seat and then come forward and rest. Rest on this support. And so now your back is long. We've spiraled it, stretched it, and now we're stretching it even more deeply. Deeply from tail to crown. Your back is stretching here. And you might feel it in your hips as well. And if you've got straddle legs, if your legs are out straight and wide, you'll feel it there as well. So you might well ask, well, when will we see Sirius again? You'll have to get up really early before the sun in the middle of August, when Sirius will begin to rise before the sun, and we'll see the star briefly, and then of course will be too much sunlight to see Sirius. But we've all seen that bright star in the winter sky, so bright just out from Orion's belt. The beautiful, beautiful Sirius. And so the ancients, and even today, many are convinced that the sun with Sirius alchemically activates a stargate, opening the doorway to many dimensional realms, including our starry origins. Entrusted with the wisdom and knowledge of an earlier and now forgotten civilization, the ancient Egyptians believed that Sirius held the key to the destiny of their world and to their own personal immortality. And their beliefs were based on a series of texts, already ancient in their time, which described special star medicines that resonated with the energy of Sirius and were capable of transforming their bodies into higher immortal forms. And we are all urged, follow the heart for as long as you live. Follow the heart as long as you live, for it is this organ that retains the greatest sensitivity to the harmonizing archetypal forces of Sirius. It becomes our listening place, where we listen for the Sirian-Isian message of eternal love, knowledge, and understanding. And it is at this very time of the year, from late June to the September equinox, that the light codes from Sirius are amplified by Sirius being so close to our sun. And so this is the time to listen, and this is the time to receive downloads and insights from Sirius. So even here, as you rest forward and breathe, have a sense of tuning in to your heart and listening to the deep stillness or whatever might show up in your heart. So beautiful, yogis. Let's complete this seated forward bend. Come on up to sit a moment. And so this is really a nice moment to sit upright for a little pranayama, just to deepen that inner calm that we are cultivating, that listening at the heart. So sit tall. Are your nostrils clear? And if so, then we'll practice actual alternate nostril breathing by closing off one nostril at a time. If your nostrils are not clear, you can do this just in your mind's eye, without blocking off a nostril. Good, so we're sitting up tall. You've either blocked off your right nostril with your right hand thumb, or you are focusing entirely on your left nostril. Breathe in. Closing up your left nostril, open your right, focus on the right for your exhalation. Right nostril, inhale. Close it up, little pause. Left nostril, exhale. Left nostril, inhale. We pause and switch sides. Breathing out through your right. In right. And switch to the left exhale. Please stay with this pattern. As it becomes easy for you, increase the little pause at the fullness of breath just before switching sides. And then maybe at the end of your breath, when you reach the empty, 1, 2 counts, same side, breathe in. And again the pause, the switch, other side, breathes out. A little pause at the end. We are working now with prana, forcing the prana in particular areas by blocking off passageways. Balancing prana between the lunar and the solar channels, or also the masculine and feminine channels, the active or passive channels. Which exist in all of us, no matter our gender. And a very powerful way to calm and center. Couple more cycles, please. As you exhale again through your left side, rest your hand down and return to the feeling of breath through both. Again, there is a shift when we stop the technique and we bathe in the effect of the technique. And at this time now, we'll rearrange ourselves for our next shape, which is elevated legs. So you can use this setup for your legs, or you could simply go to a wall and put your legs up your nearby wall. And go to where it's lovely for you. Whichever pose you choose, your back's going to be deeply relaxed after the forward bend, after the twists. This allows a lovely settling. And it also is that opportunity to really feel the fluid body. Fluid body that is revitalizing by this restorative practice. So good to reset the nervous system again and again and again. Sensing where your attention wants to be. You could be listening in your heart. Resting in your breath. Tending the places in your body that are now palpable. Each exhalation is a grounding, a dropping deeper into the element of earth. So as you rest in this elevated legs position, I'd love to share a little story, a mythic story that comes out of India and that is connected with our theme of the dog days and Sirius. In India, Sirius is known as Svana, the faithful dog of Prince Yudhishthira. The prince, along with his dog Svana and his 4 brothers, set out on a long and arduous journey to find the kingdom of heaven. One by one, along the way, the brothers abandoned the search, all except for Yudhishthira and Svana. At long last, they arrived at the gates of heaven. The gatekeeper, Lord Indra, welcomed the prince, but denied Svana entrance. Yudhishthira was aghast and told Lord Indra that he would not forsake his good and faithful servant and friend. Yudhishthira told Lord Indra that even though his brothers had abandoned the journey to heaven, he had not, and the faithful dog Svana, who had given his heart freely, chose to follow none but Yudhishthira. And the prince told the Lord that without his dog, he would forsake even heaven. Forget about heaven. My dog can't come. So this is exactly what Lord Indra wanted to hear, and he welcomed them both, the prince and the dog, through the gates of heaven. So many of us have a beloved dog who seems to be more than a dog. And I understand exactly why he didn't want to go into heaven without his beautiful Svana. And in this last part of the elevated legs position, I share with you the ode to Sirius and the sun as seen from Earth. Each year, the sun and Sirius meet for 70 days in the summer's heat, illuminating a time out of time where magic and mystery miraculously align. The dog days are filled with glorious light when we can receive deep, profound insight. Look towards the luminous, bright, shining sun where all that was is now being redone. As we focus on this wondrous creation portal, it helps us remember we are divinely immortal. And we are co-creators of magical delight, imagining a new world now within our sight. In this new world, we surely will find wisdom that goes beyond linear time and the challenging limits of our rational mind. a wisdom that goes beyond the challenging limits of our rational mind, transforming ourselves in ways that are loving and kind. So, dear loving and kind beings, hug your knees in as we complete this pose. Hug them in and have a little rock side to side. And coming back to your mat, we rearrange our props. A folded blanket above your mat, which we won't use till the end. Your blocks at the foot of the mat, as we now practice supported bridge pose. So we're on the back, the bolster underneath your buttocks, nice and elevated, a little cushy maybe, a little hard maybe. And then see if you can open your arms, which open your heart. And perhaps you'll slide your legs straight, resting your heels on or over the blocks, so that your legs now have a lot of pranic flow. Your lower back has a lot of pranic flow, and your upper back completely supported to allow for greater space in your tummy and heart area. So in this pose, let's become really quiet. Tuning into the heart. This magical place, our heart. We listen, and we can also have a little chat. One of my favorites is asking to be surprised. Surprise me. All thoughts and petitions and requests are heard. So a lovely way to breathe in this shape is to inhale to a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale to a count of 8. See how that feels. Our conscious, deep breaths matter. They heal. Slow, deep breathing, especially if you've been ill, you've been stressed, is very, very powerful. And only you can do it. But we're doing it together. And that too has great power. So lovely yogis. Let's transfer now to our final shape. Bend your knees so that you can push the bolster down. And let your back come into the mat. Nice to give it a little stretch by drawing your knees in. And then let your body, your legs slide out straight. And you could bring the pillow above your head, under your head. And feel more support, less stretch now. Completed the stretching part of our practice. And now we come to the integrating of the various poses, some of the reflections, the breathing. And anything that resonates with you, let it in deeply. We are all connected. resting in these bodies on yoga mats. We remember we come from the stars, we'll return to the stars. We are connected to it all and to each other so deeply. Conscious breathing, a little moving and stretching through your fingers and your toes. Drawing your knees in. Curl up for a moment on your side and bathe in gratitude. And we complete our practice seated. So wonderful to be with you, beautiful yogis. Especially this week, it felt very, very precious to have this restoring time with you. Thanks for coming, and namaste.